Mom and Dad forced me to be independent and pay for my studies, while Golden Sister got everything. Now they're begging for my return after family crisis. Beamy Maya, 23, recently graduated from college, but my story starts way earlier. It all began when I was 18, when my parents pulled the most ridiculous stunt ever. Let me break this down for you. Anons, it was summer after high school. Super excited about starting community college in fall. Picked a school close to home in Sacramento. Because, let's be real, college costs are insane. Had some savings from my part-time job at a local coffee shop. Thought I could count on my parents for support. Seemed like a solid plan at the time. One evening, parents called me to the kitchen table. Thought it would be one of those typical proud parent moments. Boy, was I wrong. Instead, got hit with the "you're an adult now" speech. You know the one, time to be independent. Need to learn the value of money. And all that bullshit. Then Mom drops the bomb. We won't be paying for your college. You'll need to figure it out on your own. My stomach literally dropped to the floor. Wasn't expecting them to pay everything. But not a single penny? No help with tuition? No help with books? Not even gas money for commuting? Felt like a punch to the gut. But wait, it gets better. Dad, who usually keeps quiet, speaks up. If you want to live here, you'll need to start paying rent. And your own groceries? It's only fair. MFU. I'm still in my childhood bedroom. Still have my middle school posters on the walls. And they want rent from me. For context, my parents aren't poor. Mom's an HR director. Dad's a construction manager. They're doing just fine. They weren't asking for rent because they needed money. They were doing it to teach me responsibility. Meanwhile, my younger sister Nina, 17 at the time, living like actual royalty. She's always been the golden child. Straight A's. Captain of the volleyball team. Everyone's favorite. Parents basically worship the ground she walks on. Wish I could say I stood up to them right there. But I didn't. Didn't want to cause drama. Didn't want to seem ungrateful. Just sat there like an idiot, thinking, fine, I'll pay rent. We'll hustle through college somehow. Always been independent anyway. But deep down, I was fucking furious. Rent wasn't the only thing I had to worry about. Had to figure out tuition, and books, and gas money, and groceries. Everything just kept adding up. Started picking up extra shifts at the coffee shop. Sometimes working until midnight. Took on side gigs baking stuff. Mostly cupcakes and cookies for local events. Was basically working 24/7. But no matter how much I made, it was never enough. Kept pushing forward though. Had to be ready when classes started. Thought about moving out more times than I can count. Started looking at apartments near campus. Rent in Sacramento is absolute insanity. Like, how do people even survive here? Every place I looked at was completely out of my budget. Even with roommates. Realized pretty quickly moving out wasn't happening. Not yet anyway. Made a deal with myself. Would stick it out at home until graduation. Keep my head down. Save every penny I could. The second I had enough money, would cut them off completely. That became my motivation. Every late night shift. Every dollar saved. Every time I had to skip hanging out with friends. All part of my escape plan. Never looking back. But staying wasn't easy. Parents made everything worse. Started asking for rent before I even started classes. Would constantly remind me about rent being due. Even if I was just a day or two away from paying. Never even late with payments. They just loved holding it over my head. Meanwhile, they're showering Nina with gifts. Like every week was Christmas. One time, they took her shopping for new volleyball gear. Ended up buying her an entire wardrobe. She came home with bags full of clothes. New shoes. All kinds of accessories. Grinning like she won the lottery. Asked Mom if they could help with my textbooks. Since semester was starting soon, she just looked at me. Hey Maya, you need to learn to budget better. Nina doesn't have these kinds of expenses. That hit different. Wasn't just about the money. Was about how little they cared. About what I was going through. Nina didn't make things any better. She's not evil or anything. Just incredibly spoiled. Would brag about all her new stuff. Complain about how hard volleyball practice was. While I'm running on 3 hours of sleep. Trying to juggle work and saving for school. One night came home after working double shift. Completely dead tired. Found her lounging on the couch. Playing with her new AirPods Max. Mom and Dad got these for me, she says. Like it's no big deal. You should get some too. They're amazing. Just looked at her. Yeah, maybe when I don't have to pay rent. She rolled her eyes. Went back to watching TikTok. Had moments where I wanted to scream. Tell my parents how fucked up this all was. But knew it wouldn't change anything. they had their golden child. I was just the one paying rent. Kept my mouth shut, focused on my plan to get out. College was supposed to be this amazing new chapter. Instead, felt like pure survival mode from day one. Thought I'd have time to find my rhythm, maybe even enjoy myself a little. But nope, between classes, work, and parents breathing down my neck about rent. Was running on empty 24/7, up at 5:30 a.m. every day. Out the door by 6:30, at community college for morning classes. Tried to study between lectures, but by noon, had to rush to my shift at the coffee shop. Most days worked until 9 or 10 p.m., go home and pass out. Weekends? What weekends? That's when I'd be baking for side gigs. Because surprise, part-time work wasn't cutting it. Would love to say I was handling it like a boss, but that would be a lie. Coffee shop was absolute chaos, always understaffed. COVID made everyone extra pissy. Every shift felt like running a marathon. Be behind the counter making lattes, then sprinting to drive-through, then dealing with Karen number 155 who thinks her mocha isn't hot enough. All while knowing, still had a mountain of assignments waiting at home. Parents made everything worse. They'd see me dragging myself home late at night. Instead of showing concern, don't forget rent's due Friday. Or, we noticed the electricity bill went up. Are you leaving your lights on too much? Wanted to scream every single time. Meanwhile, Nina living her best life, zero responsibilities, no job, all the time in the world for volleyball, hanging with friends, scrolling through TikTok for hours. I'd come home exhausted, find her on the couch, surrounded by expensive snacks, watching whatever new show she was into, while mom made her protein smoothies to keep her energy up for practice. Like living in two different universes, under the same roof. The financial stress was getting ridiculous. Rent wasn't crazy high compared to market rates, but paying to live in my childhood home felt like a slap in the face. Add in all the other costs. Was constantly broke. Some weeks would open my banking app, stare at the balance, wonder how to stretch $37 until next paycheck. Asking for help? Forget about it. One time asked mom if she could cover groceries for a week. Had to buy a 180 biology textbook. She gave me this look like I asked her to buy me a car. Maya, we're already doing so much by letting you stay here. Letting me stay here? Like I wasn't paying rent. Like I wasn't contributing more than Nina, who still got her weekly allowance, without lifting a finger. Things hit rock bottom during midterms. Drowning in assignments. Barely sleeping. Hours at coffee shop got cut. Business was slow. Trying to make up lost income with extra baking. But there's only so many hours in a day. Got this huge order one weekend. 125 cupcakes and custom cake for birthday party. Great money, but meant pulling an all-nighter. Spent hours baking, more hours frosting, even more hours decorating. Finished just in time to deliver. Then straight to class. By the time got home that afternoon, was basically a zombie. Walked into kitchen, found mom and Nina baking cookies. Just for fun. Nina looks up. Hey Maya, you should join us. It's so relaxing. Wanted to throw entire tray of cookies out the window. Just mumbled something about being tired. Went to my room. Didn't wake up until next morning. By semester's end, was completely burnt out. Grades weren't terrible, but weren't great either. Barely keeping head above water. Every time, thought about how hard I was working. Just to barely survive. Felt this deep burning anger. It wasn't fair. Was doing everything they wanted. Standing on my own 2 feet. They couldn't even acknowledge it. Meanwhile, Nina getting everything handed to her. On a silver freaking platter. Don't know how made it through that first year. Felt like running uphill. With a backpack full of bricks. But kept reminding myself. Wouldn't be forever. Just had to survive. What didn't realize then? Things weren't just unfair. They were completely rigged against me. When finally found out the truth, it hit like a freight train. By the time Nina hit senior year, parents were running full propaganda campaign to crown her family's golden child of the century. Always knew they favored her. But this was next level insanity. They treated Nina's college plans like some national security mission, taking her on campus tours months in advance, turning them into mini family vacations. Every time they came back, Nina had new haul of university merch. Hoodies, water bottles, fancy planners, like she'd won some cosmic lottery. Meanwhile, just trying to survive. My budget was so tight, was constantly behind on something. Tuition payments, books, car maintenance, you name it. Couldn't afford to take as many classes as wanted. Graduation timeline kept stretching longer. At this rate, would be lucky to graduate before Nina. One night, Mom came into kitchen. While trying to study, already on edge. Had forgotten to submit online assignment, without even asking how I was. She drops it. We're thinking of getting Nina a car for college. Stared at her. Trying to process this BS. She's going to need something reliable, Mom said, like it was most logical thing ever. You know how hard it is to get around without a car. Almost laughed. They wouldn't even help with bus pass when I started. Now, they're buying Nina a whole car. Mom gave me that look. You know, the don't be dramatic look. Maya, you've always been more independent. Nina needs more support to succeed. Didn't say anything. Went back to my notes. Pretending wasn't boiling inside. But here's the thing. Wasn't just the car. That was just cherry on top. Parents made it clear they were going all in on Nina's college experience. Tuition covered, rent paid, monthly allowance, of course. Same parents who told me I needed to learn value of money. Were basically handing Nina a blank check. Like watching someone live out your dream, right in front of you. Favoritism didn't stop there. Mom spent hours researching dorm decor with Nina, buying matching bedding sets, color-coordinated storage bins. Dad suddenly became tech expert, helping her pick perfect laptop. They even made college prep budget, which honestly looked more like shopping list for spoiled teenager. Never forget night. They were all in living room, huddled around coffee table, with campus brochures spread everywhere. Nina showing off her Pinterest board of dorm ideas, while Dad taking notes, like he was planning corporate merger. What's going on? I asked. Already knowing answer, we're helping Nina decide between schools, Mom said, barely looking up. It's such a big decision. We want to make sure she's prepared. Prepared, right. When she started getting acceptance letters, parents acted like they'd won Nobel Prize. She got into her top choice. They threw huge celebration dinner, complete with her favorite sushi, and cake saying, "Congrats, Nina," in gold frosting. I didn't even get good job text. When got into community college, during dinner, Mom kept going on about how proud she was, how Nina worked so hard for this. At one point turns to me, "Maya, you must be so proud of your sister. She's really going places." Wanted to scream. Worked hard. Nina barely knew meaning of hard work. She'd been coasting through life, on talent and parental favoritism, while I was drowning in student loans and espresso shots. After that, started avoiding family dinners completely. Easier to focus on own life. Then watch them build Nina's pedestal higher. Final straw came few weeks before Nina's move-in day. Came home from work one night. Found shiny used Tesla Model 3 in driveway. First thought, maybe neighbors got new car. Then Nina comes running outside, actually jumping up and down. "They got me a car!" she squealed. Just stood there staring. Later that night, overheard Mom and Dad talking about Nina's monthly allowance, planning to give her enough for groceries, gas money, and extra for fun. Meanwhile, I was eating instant ramen and PB&J because couldn't afford anything else. Thought about saying something, about calling them out. But what was point? They'd just say same thing they always did. Nina needs more support. Or, it's not about favoritism. So kept mouth shut. Nina being Nina, completely oblivious, would pop into my room, show pictures of her dorm setup, talk about how excited she was for her college journey. One time actually said, "Maya, you're so lucky you got to figure out independence early. Don't know if I could handle everything you do." Lucky. She thought I was lucky, wanted to laugh in her face. Just said, "Yeah, it's been great." Went back to homework. The favoritism wasn't bearable anymore. So in your face. Started questioning if parents even saw me as their kid, or just some tenant who happened to share their DNA. Didn't talk to anyone about how I was feeling. For the longest time. What was the point? Friends were supportive, but they didn't really get it. Bringing it up at home was like shouting into void. But one night, found myself calling Grandpa Marcus. Growing up, spent hours in his bakery, learning everything from him. How to measure flour properly. How to crack eggs without getting shells everywhere. How to make perfect frosting swirls on cupcakes. It was his way of showing me hard work could be something you love. He never judged me, never pressured me to be perfect. Just let me be me. Hadn't talked to Grandpa Marcus in a while. He and Grandma had been living their best life since he retired few years ago. Man spent whole life building bakery business from scratch. When finally decided to step away, left it with one of his longtime managers, so he and Grandma could travel the world. They'd always dreamed about it. Once he hung up his apron, They went for it. Downside was, Grandpa wasn't exactly tech savvy, barely knew how to use his phone, let alone handle social media. Staying in touch wasn't easy. He'd send occasional postcard, or call once in blue moon. Most times just heard about their adventures. Through my parents, they'd only been back for a little while when I called. Guess they decided to slow down, spend more time at home. Hadn't reached out earlier because, honestly, didn't want to dump my problems on him. He was retired, happy, finally getting to enjoy his life. Last thing wanted was to ruin that, by unloading all my drama, but that night, couldn't hold it in anymore. When he picked up, could feel my shoulders relax. "Hey kiddo," he said, his voice warm and familiar. "What's going on?" I didn't hold back, told him everything. How I was drowning in bills, how parents were pouring money into Nina's college, while making me pay rent. Ranted about Tesla, they bought her. Monthly allowance they planned, how I was left struggling to keep up with school. Grandpa listened quietly, letting me get it all out. Could hear him making small noises, like he was putting puzzle together. Then out of nowhere, he interrupted me. "Maya," he said slowly, "didn't your parents use the money I gave them for your education?" Blinked in confusion. "What money?" There was long pause. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Wasn't angry yet, but there was something sharp about it, like he was trying to stay calm. "When you were 16, your grandmother and I put aside $55,000 for your college fund. We gave it to your parents because they said they'd use it for your tuition and expenses. Are you telling me they never mentioned this to you?" Felt like been punched in stomach. They never said anything. I've been paying for everything myself. All of it. Grandpa let out heavy sigh, kind that carried years of disappointment. "Maya, that money was for you. We gave it to them to make sure you had solid start, so you wouldn't have to struggle. If I'd known this is what they were doing." He trailed off. Could hear anger creeping into his voice. Took me a minute to process. All this time, been told parents couldn't afford to help. Wanted me to learn independence hard way. But now finding out they had $55,000 specifically meant for me. They hadn't even bothered to tell me about it. "They lied to me," Grandpa said finally. "And they lied to you. That money was yours, not theirs. Not Nina's. Yours." Didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to cry, but mostly just felt numb. Past few years of scraping by, working myself to bone, falling behind in school, all suddenly felt so much heavier. "What do you think they did with it?" Asked barely above whisper. "I don't know," Grandpa said. For first time could hear real anger in his voice. "But I'm going to find out." There was long pause. Then he added, "Maya, you're not alone in this. I'll handle it. You just focus on school, okay?" Hearing him say that made me feel something hadn't felt in long time. Relief. For years been carrying everything alone, thinking no one cared, or even noticed. But now, for first time, felt like someone was in my corner. "Thanks, Grandpa," said, trying to keep voice steady. "Anytime, kiddo." He said, "And Maya, don't let this crush you. You're stronger than they give you credit for." After we hung up, the anger started creeping in, replacing the numbness. How could my parents do this to me? How could they take something meant to make my life easier and keep it from me, knowing full well how much I was struggling? Wasn't just about the money, was the fact they'd chosen to let me suffer. While putting Nina on pedestal, they'd lied to Grandpa, stolen from me, then had audacity to act like I should be grateful for scraps they gave me. That night couldn't sleep. Mind kept going back. To all times I'd asked for help. Just a little. Just enough to get by. And they brushed me off. Times Mom told me I needed to budget better. While they were buying Nina a new phone, or booking another campus visit. Thought about all sacrifices I'd made. Working late nights. Skipping meals. Delaying graduation. Because didn't think there was any other option. And whole time, they had $55,000 sitting in their pocket. That could have changed everything. More I thought about it, angrier I got, but there was also part of me that felt something else. Hope. Grandpa Marcus was in person to make empty promises. If he said he was going to handle it, believed him for first time in years, felt like wasn't completely alone in this mess. That thought didn't erase hurt, but gave me something to hold on to. Few days after first conversation with Grandpa, my phone lit up with his name. "I talked to your parents," he said, not even bothering with hello. "Maya, you're not going to believe excuses they gave me." Braced myself. What did they say? They told me they used the $55,000 your grandmother and I gave them for family expenses, his voice sharp. When I pressed them on what exactly that meant, your mother admitted they'd been saving it. For Nina's college instead, felt my stomach drop. 55,000. That was more than enough to cover my tuition, rent, every expense I'd been killing myself to pay for years. And they'd taken it all of it, to make sure Nina had perfect stress-free college experience. They had no right. Grandpa continued, practically seething. That money was for you. I made it clear they need to repay it. Every last cent. And if they don't, they're out of the will. I can't stay here anymore, Grandpa said suddenly. I can't look at them knowing what they did. Then don't. He said immediately, there's guest room here with your name on it. Pack your things and come over tonight. Moving out of parents' house was easiest decision ever made. Didn't even bother telling them I was leaving. Just started packing bags. As soon as hung up with Grandpa, Nina walked past my room, raised eyebrow and saw mess. What's going on? She asked, completely oblivious to everything that had been happening. I'm moving out, said shortly, throwing another pile of clothes into suitcase. She blinked. Wait, what? Why? Ask Mom and Dad, said zipping up suitcase. Didn't owe her explanation. Didn't see parents that night. They were both out. Left short note on kitchen counter. Just said, I'm moving in with Grandpa Marcus. Don't call me, and then was gone. When got to Grandpa's house, he was waiting at door. Come on in, kiddo, he said, pulling me into hug. This is where you belong. Guest room was cozy, had big bed, window overlooking Grandpa's garden. Already felt more like home than parents' house ever had. That night, for first time in years, went to bed without feeling like weight of world was crushing me. But of course, peace didn't last long. Next morning, the calls started. Mom was first. Didn't answer, but she left voicemail. So dramatic it almost made me laugh. Maya, how could you just leave like this? Do you have any idea how this makes us look? You're overreacting. Come home so we can talk this out. Yeah, no thanks. Then Dad called. He was little less theatrical, but still just as frustrating. Maya, we know you're upset, but this isn't way to handle things. We're family. We can work through this together. Sure, now they wanted to work through things. Where was that energy when I was drowning in bills and begging for help by end of day? Had ignored dozen calls and texts from both of them. Messages were emotional roller coaster. 1 minute they were apologizing. Next they were blaming me for turning Grandpa against them. One text from Mom stood out. Maya, you don't understand how hard this has been for us. We were just trying to do what was best for everyone. Can't you see that? Stared at it for a long time. Finally replied. No, Mom, you weren't trying to do what was best for everyone. You were doing what was best for Nina. And you didn't care who you hurt in process. Her response came instantly. That's not fair. We didn't mean to hurt you. We thought you could handle it. Because you've always been so strong. There it was again. That same tired excuse. Didn't even bother replying. Next day, they started showing up at Grandpa's house. Was sitting at kitchen table, helping him sort through bakery paperwork. When saw Mom's BMW pull into driveway, groaned. They're here. Grandpa didn't look surprised. Let me handle this, he said, standing up, heading to door, stayed in kitchen, but could hear everything. Mom was already in full meltdown mode. When Grandpa opened the door, Marcus, we need to talk to Maya. She said, she's being completely unreasonable. About this whole situation, Grandpa didn't let her in. You mean situation where you stole $55,000 from her? I think she's being perfectly reasonable. Mom sputtered, trying to defend herself. We didn't steal it. It was for family. We thought... You thought wrong? Grandpa interrupted. That money was for Maya. And you knew it. You made her struggle while you pampered Nina. You don't get to waltz in here and act like victim. Mom tried again. But Marcus, we were just trying to... Grandpa cut her off. If you're not here to apologize, you can leave. Maya deserves better than this. And I'm not going to stand by while you try to guilt her into forgiving you. There was long silence, then heard sound of Mom's car door slamming. She didn't even make it into house. Once Grandpa demanded, they repay $55,000 they'd stolen from me. My parents' entire operation fell apart. They'd been coasting along, like nothing was wrong. But Grandpa wasn't playing around. He gave them deadline. When they realized he wasn't bluffing, the panic must have set in. He made it clear they needed to pay back every cent, or they'd lose their place in will. The fallout hit Nina almost immediately. Parents had been cushioning Nina's transition to college as much as humanly possible. She was living in dorm like every other freshman, but they'd gone above and beyond to make it feel like home. Nina had everything: mini fridge, high-end espresso machine, matching designer decor, even some fancy noise-canceling headphones. To help her focus, she never had to think about budgeting or work. Her only responsibility was to enjoy college experience. Well, not anymore. With $55,000 to repay, Mom and Dad had to tighten purse strings. Nina's weekly care packages, gone. Spending money they were planning to send her, canceled. Even some fancy extras in her dorm had to be returned. Suddenly, Nina wasn't just another spoiled golden child. She was college student like rest of us. Best part, she had to get part-time job. Found out through Instagram. Nina posted selfie and mirror of some boutique with caption that read, "First day working girl life. New adventures." Couldn't help but laugh. She made it sound like cute little hobby, but knew her well enough to know she was miserable. It didn't take long for Nina to crack. One night she called me, sobbing so hard, could barely understand her. Against better judgment, picked up, "Maya!" she wailed. "Everything's ruined." Took deep breath. "What's ruined, Nina?" "My life," she cried. "Mom and Dad aren't sending me any more money. They said they can't afford it. And now I have to work. And budget." She broke off into another round of sobbing. Rolled my eyes so hard. Thought they might get stuck. "Nina, welcome to real world. You're finally experiencing what rest of us deal with." Every day, she didn't appreciate that. "This is all your fault," she snapped, voice sharp with anger. "If you hadn't told Grandpa, none of this would have happened." That made me laugh. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I ruin your little bubble of privilege? Because as far as I'm concerned, you're just catching up to what I've been dealing with." For years, Nina started to say something else, but wasn't in mood to argue. "Look," said, cutting her off, "if you want someone to blame, talk to Mom and Dad. They're ones who stole from me to fund your perfect little life." She hung up on me, which honestly saved me trouble. Weeks that followed were almost entertaining. Nina started posting cryptic updates on social media about how hard life was and how she felt betrayed by people she trusted most. Was laughable considering she'd spent entire life being pampered and shielded from reality. Now that she had to face even fraction of challenges I'd dealt with, she acted like world was ending. One post stood out. Picture of her dorm desk with cup of instant noodles. Caption read, "College life isn't as glamorous as it seems." Stared at it for a while, debating whether to comment. It wanted to say, "You've been living this way for 2 weeks. Try doing it for years." But stopped myself. What was point? Nina would never understand. Still, her pity party didn't go unnoticed. Her friends and followers flooded her comments with support, saying things like, "Stay strong, Nina," and "You've got this," as if getting part-time job and budgeting was some insurmountable challenge. From what heard through family grapevine, Nina wasn't adjusting well. To her new reality, she complained to anyone who would listen about how unfair it all was. But sympathy wasn't as strong as she probably hoped. Most people were too busy with their own problems to care about hers. Mom and Dad tried to soften blow. Of course, they sent her couple care packages, nowhere near as extravagant as before, but still enough to remind Nina she was favorite. Irony wasn't lost on me. For years they told me that struggling was good for me, would make me stronger. Now that Nina was struggling, they were bending over backward to make sure she didn't fall apart. But even with their help, Nina wasn't thriving. She was surviving, but that was it. Her grades started slipping. She had trouble keeping up with job. Cracks in her perfect facade were starting to show, and honestly, didn't feel bad for her. Meanwhile, Grandpa didn't just give me place to stay. He made sure I had everything needed. To get back on track, he helped organize my finances, encouraged me to take full course load, to finish college sooner, even got me involved in bakery operations. Felt good to be around someone who actually cared about my future. As for parents, they kept trying to reach out. At first it was constant. Mom left voicemail after voicemail, her tone switching between guilt trips and apologies. Maya, we're sorry, okay? We made mistakes, but we're still your parents. We love you. Sure, they loved me, just not enough to treat me fairly. When it mattered, Dad's messages were more subdued, but just as frustrating. Maya, we know you're upset, but you've got to see it from our side. We were trying to do what was best for family, and now this family needs you. Please come home. Didn't respond to any of them. What was there to say? They weren't sorry for what they'd done. They were sorry they'd been caught. They only wanted me back, to exploit me one more time. Eventually, calls slowed down. Think they realized I wasn't going to forgive them, just because they wanted me to. Shortly before officially graduated, Grandpa sat me down in kitchen. Maya, he said, sliding folder across table. I've been thinking about future of bakery. Opened folder, found stack of papers, detailing business operations. Grandpa smiled at me, his eyes crinkling, way they always did when he was proud. You've been helping out lot, and I can see how much you care about this place. I want you to take over. When you're ready, stared at him, completely stunned. Grandpa, are you serious? Of course I'm serious. He said, you've earned this, Maya, and I know you'll make it even better. Hearing that from him meant everything. For so long, felt like my hard work didn't matter. Like no one saw how much I was struggling. But Grandpa did. He always had. Taking over bakery became my focus after that. Threw myself into learning everything. Could about business. From managing staff to balancing budgets. Grandpa was right there with me, guiding me through every step. By time I graduated, was ready to take reins. Grandpa officially handed over business. We celebrated with big party at bakery. Friends, staff, even some of my professors showed up to congratulate me. These days, don't talk to parents much. They're still trying to patch things up, acting like few apologies will magically fix everything. What they don't realize, Grandpa already removed them from will. Months ago, they're probably still clinging to hope. They can weasel their way back in. But honestly, it's not my problem. Too busy running bakery and building something real for myself. If they want to waste their time, that's on them. Let them watch from sidelines. I'm moving forward, and I'm not looking back. MFW, I'm now successful business owner, and they're still trying to figure out where it all went wrong.